The competitive 40K network presents Art of War. Art of War. Strategy and tactics. Discussions with the best players on the planet. Now your host, Nick Nanavati.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Art of War podcast. I am your host, Nick Nanavati, and I'm so excited for this episode because we're going to talk about one of my favorite factions, Chaos Space Marines, with the latest and greatest, the winner of the London Grand Tournament, 700 plus person super major, first place winner, Liam. Liam, how are you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me on the show.
You're very welcome. Now, I didn't want to approach your last name because I'd probably butcher it. So could you just let me know what it is?
So it's VSL, but my last name is Van Sichelen Loger. So it's V is Van, S Sichelen Loger for L. But yeah.
Awesome. Well, Liam VSL for short has won LGT, and we're going to take the opportunity to get to know Liam, figure out what makes him tick, how does it work, what his play style behind the game is, what his philosophy about the game is, what the preparation for London GT was, and we're going to learn about Liam. Ultimately, this is going to come up to what he actually took to London GT. We're going to break down the list, and then in part two of our conversation, which is for our patrons, you can subscribe right now on AOW40k.com. Get access to this part two, along with 200 plus other episodes and access to our Discord server right now. In part two, we're going to break down exactly how he played his games at LGT, his approach to the Eldar match, his approach to this, his approach to that, where he put the models on the table, and how he approached the game. He's got a very new and exciting Chaos list featuring no Abaddon that is spoiler alert. So I'm super excited to figure out exactly how it is. Liam, how are you doing?
Good. Just arrived home 2 days ago. And
I'm sure you're tired.
That was a long tournament, and I didn't have much sleep. But we were in a big Airbnb with a lot of friends. That was funny.
That's always super fun. That's the right way to tournament.
Yeah, that's the best part, actually.
Awesome. I'm so happy for you. So you must be pretty excited coming off this big win.
Yeah, that was I was really, really happy because that was obviously my objective, try to win the whole thing. And when that happened, it was cool.
It was cool. Well said. So let me talk to you about your preparation for this event and actually just kind of how you got into Warhammer. For a lot of American players, I don't think many have any familiarity with you. So kind of where do you come from? Well, how did you get into the game? Where do you play typically? That kind of thing.
So basically, I'm from Belgium. I started when I was a child, obviously, like a lot of us, but I did come back to the game in the early step of 8th edition. So I think now it's 7 years ago or 6 years ago. And I start to play at my random store in Belgium. And after some game, then I try to test some local tournament. And then I was approached by the WTC in Belgium. And from there, I start to play more international tournament. And here I come to LGT this year. Also, I'm a big friend with Alexander Sacco that won the LGT last year. So he said to me to come this year, which I did, which was funny, because I won it. So now we have the trophy, because Alexander played with us this year in WTC. So he liked to say that the trophy stay home, basically.
That's so awesome. So basically, Alexander Sacco, who we've had on the podcast a couple times to talk about Chaos Space Marines, actually, he won it last year and then played with you on the Belgian team, told you to come over, and you came over and won it. Why can't the UK players keep it in their own country? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. Because I have the trophy now, and I think there is a Polish guy that won it, an American guy, a French, and now a Belgian. And I think there is still some Brits, obviously, on that, but it's international, basically.
Yeah, that's so funny. I need to get myself to London. Maybe I'll win it. That's awesome, Liam. Congratulations. So you played in Belgium. You basically got better over time in Belgium, and you came out to LGT. You've also played on a WTC team. That's super exciting. Obviously, you're a pretty phenomenal player. What was your preparation like for the LGT? How did you decide what list to bring? This is a pretty radical Chaos list compared to what most people have been seeing success with.
But because I'm friend with Sacco, I did help him building his list for the WTC, which was kind of the early stage of the list with like the idea of the Chaos Lord with Chosen and Rhino, start from them. And then like me, I was the Tyson playing back in the day. But when like the data set dropped, like Tyson got hit a lot. And like Chaos got actually like some point reduction on the unit I like Warp Talon, the Chosen got point reduction. And even though the Fortune and Oblitz got some point nerf, it was still okay to bring them. So basically my preparation was I had some other event before the tournament. So basically I had like a team event, the Polish Master, 2 weeks ago. And I needed to decide which faction I will bring for that team. And like Eldar, I'm an Eldar player too, weirdly enough. And Eldar was already took. And I didn't really want to play Eldar. And then like it was like Tyson were kind of meh. And then I did look at CSM closer. And then I decided to bring them to that tournament. And then I had another tournament last week. And I decided to bring also that to that tournament. And everything went like according to plans. And then obviously I decided, I think I have like a match in everything and it's okay. So I will bringing that to London, which I did.
Wow. So this was a list that was actually, we talked about it on this podcast, its predecessor with Alex Sacco, I don't know, maybe just 2 months ago, a month ago, right after WTC. And he saw amazing success with it in the singles event and the team tournament. And now you guys have worked on it together. You've evolved it. You've taken it to tournament after tournament to tournament. This is kind of like the final version of this Chaos Army.
And also I had like some other help because on the other side, I'm on an international team, Ignite, where it's like big UK event and stuff, and a big UK player in it. And I had also like Vic Vigier and Chris Radford that helped me a lot on that list too, that because they were also playing CSM. So I basically took a lot to everyone and took like a lot of ID from everyone. And then we patched the ID and make that list. That was like a teamwork in a way.
Definitely. So that's really how the best lists kind of come up with, right? It's a bunch of people hive-minding, working out together, trying to poke holes in it, trying to beat it. Then you get better at playing it, refining it, and that's really what it is. So did you and Alex end up playing the same exact thing to LGT?
So yeah, we had me, Chris, Radford, an English player, and Alex that had exactly the same list. Point for point.
That reminds me of the days that Breviathan stormed LVO.
Yeah. I mean, in the end, like Alexander went 4-1, lost to like Eldar. And then we have Chris that got to the Shadow Round. Sadly, had to play the 7 game like between like 9 p.m. and 1 a.m. So
no one wants that.
No one wants that, but he had to, sadly, for him. And he lost there, sadly. And then I had to move, obviously.
That's the worst. When you make it to the Shadow Round, you're playing till midnight, and then you lose. And
So, yeah.
So talk to me about your play style and how this list fits you. Because one of the things that I know from years and years and years of playing Chaos is it's very experiential learning, fine-tuning, just to make sure you've got the right amount of units, the right job doers for every single job. Your lists end up looking a little bit strange. And it's hard to quantify that journey and to replicate the results. Because by that, I mean, so much of your Warhammer 40K list development is experiential, right? So if you have XYZ experiences and you adjust your list and play it XYZ way, and then you come up with what is your final version, someone else has their own experiences, plays their list, refines their list, and where maybe you started in the same place, but it's very easy to end up in different spots. So it's very rare to see 3 people or a whole team take the same exact list carbon copy. Liam, in your case, what is your play style, and did you have to change it at all to play this list properly?
Not really, because I'm like a really, really aggressive player. So I like to rush a lot. And I like to actually put chaos on the table by being everywhere in all the table, having like a lot of like little fight happening everywhere on the table and stuff like that. So yeah, I tend to like send my whole army in my opponent face and like make it sure like either he make mistake by dealing with the wrong part that actually doesn't matter, or just get crushed and like take a big hit and cannot come back from that. So yeah, I tend to rush a lot. Sometimes it's not correct to rush, so I will not rush. But most of the time, when I have an opportunity, I will go for it. I will like send everything. Like sometimes I like you're charging like your whole army in that like random chaff unit just to get the extra movement, even though it's not worth for like the trading part of the game, but for the positioning, it's really important. So like I tend to rush a lot.
Yeah, I saw actually I believe it was your quarterfinal game against Vic Vijay with his Eldar, and that was a rush if I ever saw one. So it's a very naturally aggressive army, and you play it super aggressively. So in that sense, it definitely is a natural fit. When you're playing this aggressive army, like I guess before we keep going into it, I feel like this whole conversation centers around the list itself. Why don't we actually just unpack it? What is this list?
So the list is basically, the core of the list is 2 Rhino with 20 Chosen and 3 Chaos Lord. So there is 10, 5, 5 Chosen, and the Chaos Lord are all leading the Chosen squad, and they go in Nurgle Rhino. So like that's the core of the list. Because like, the Nurgle Rhino are basically lone operative for 1 CP, so that allow you to stage really well. And then I have in backup, I have the shooting platform that are mainly coming from Deep Strike. So generally I will have like so I have 1 Nurgle Force Fiend with Ectoplasma that stay on the board, and so 2 units of 2 Obliterator and then divided Force Fiend in Strat Radar. And then I have all the scoring element, I want to say, which are basically 10 Cultists, Shalaxi, Sileski, the Blue Scribe, 3 Nurgling, and like the 2 5-man Warp Talon that also help initiate trade and stuff like that, with the Slanesh Warp Talon being able to advance and charge.
Right. So basically, top to bottom, it's 3 Chaos Lords, 3 units of Chosen, 5, 5, and 10, all in 2 different Rhinos. Then 2 Forge Fiends, one's Nurgle, one's Undivided, 2x2 Obliterators, that's interesting, 2 5-man Slanesh Talons, and then we've got Blue Scribes, 3 Nurglings, 10 Cultists, that's it?
And Silesk.
Oh, and Celeste. Can't leave home without her. She's amazing.
Yes.
So talk to me about how this list works. Just very, very broad overview here, right? Like I see Rhinos, I see Chosen, looks like Space Marines that pit really hard, but they have to walk, they have to hit stuff. 2x2 Obliterators, this is what we call anti-tank these days. Like, what is the sauce here?
So the idea is to basically your turn 1, you're going to stage for a big turn 2, where you're going to use your Deep Strike plus your charging plus everything to do a big hit on your opponent. So generally, I would just turn 1, walk the Rhino in the middle of the board, and then on turn 2, I will like generally disembark like the big 10-man plus 1 5-man, sending like 1 or 2 War Talon unit depending on the target, and I would like deep strike the Obliterator and try to go for big kill. So it's like I say, really aggressive. So that would say that's that's the common game plan, I want to say.
So
but
very straightforward with Rhinos. I assume behind terrain, just because.
Yeah, obviously, because even though you have the Nurgle strat, you don't always want to use it, and you also have the Force Fiend that want to use it. So you need to make sure to only expose 1 Nurgle unit and not like 2 or 3, because then it doesn't matter to be Nurgle.
Right. So it's very, pick and choose where your spots are for the early turns. And then turn 2, typically, I imagine you just deep strike all the Oblits, Warp Talons, everything in, and just rush at your opponent.
It's obviously going to depend on the tempo of the game, because like if my opponent decide me to screen me really hard, I'm going to do a turn 2 where I'm going to kill the slows, kill the screen. So, for example, I may deep strike like the Oblit behind terrain, shoot out on the side, like maybe deep strike like the Force Fiend on like edge where I can like, take a short angle on something or stuff like that, and then go for the turn 3 big hit. But yeah, it's generally a matter of like timing, but the objective is obviously to rush, to like send your army in your opponent.
So, I mean, fairly straightforward, very chaos plan, very aggressive play style as well here. One thing I noticed is like knowing what I know of you as a player, you play a lot of Harlequins, or you maybe used to back when they were more of an army.
Yes.
And the Harlequins take a lot of transports, a lot of guys inside transports. You have Chosen inside Rhinos. How do you get the most value out of these transports? Well, I feel like that is something that you leverage as a player really well.
Yeah, the transport mechanic is awesome, especially now that Rhino have far in deck. And when generally what you want to do with transport basically what I like to see transport like is wall protect you from shooting and transport protect you from melee, because you're going to put a transport behind a terrain, which is going to mean that you cannot be shoot at because there is a terrain, and you cannot be really charged at because there is a transport, which is like tough enough that if someone want to go kill it, he need to send something valuable to it. So most of the time it's like not really worth to go for it, even though sometimes it is, but so like that's the basic mechanic of the transport I want to say. Like the idea is obviously they allow you to stage it safely in the middle of the board. That's like it was the same thing with Harlequin, where it was better back in the day because you had fly, so the Star Weaver were going over ruin, but like now it's a little bit different, but the idea is still the same. So you want to like stage all your transport in the middle to then go in your deployment in the opponent deployment zone for killing him.
I love the way you phrased that the wall protects you from shooting, the transport, the Rhino in this case, protects you from combat. And then you basically park Chosen up in midfield, and even in the open, because you have the Mark and Nurgle stratagem
Yes.
with the Rhino to keep it from being shot outside 12, then you can basically just launch combat missiles, these Chosen. And you can unload 20 Chosen, 3 Lords, 10 Warp Talons, all 4 Obliterators, Deep Strike, Forge Fiend shows up in the corner, Selesky's doing stuff. Like I can totally see the plan now. Do you always Deep Strike the Warp Talons or an Obliterators, or is that game by game?
So the Obliterator is when like it's a question of matchup. When I know I might get rush, like for example against Renegade Knight, or against like big horde of like cultists or everything, or maybe horde of Tyrannid, where I may be screened out of the board, and like there is not really a downside of not putting the Obliterator on the board. I will put the Obliterator on the board, but most of the time it's better to put them in Deep Strike, because like it will scare people a lot, because you have the option to come from Deep Strike, shoot out of line of sight. That can open a lot of situation.
Definitely, and you can even stagger it if you want, right? Like you can leave units in reserve, you can rapid ingress. Yes. What is your philosophy about leaving reserves in versus going full throttle on turn 2?
So that's actually a big part of like how I play. Like most of the time, when I know I can finish the game on turn 2, I will go for it. Sometimes, but it's also because I'm used to be a team player, where in team, winning doesn't matter. You need to 20-0 your opponent. So, and I'm used to do a lot of 20-0. So like I did apply that philosophy to singles. When I can finish the game, that means I will go for the 20-0 actually. But like, obviously in single, it doesn't work always like this, because sometimes you just need to win. And like, obviously for those cases, letting the some deep strike unit or strategic reserve until turn 3 might be beneficial. Like I did that because like you're gonna make your opponent screen one more turn when he doesn't want to do so. So like it's really a case by case. There is not really much general rules about that, I think.
Obviously, that's going to be contextual, matchup on matchup.
Yes.
I wasn't sure if there was a go-to playbook, or if you just leave it very fluid, open, figure it out in the moment kind of thing.
Difficult
to answer, yeah, no problem. So as we go through, one of the questions that just has to come into my mind is very much your game plan for scoring. Primary mission makes sense, right? You're charging across the table. You should be contesting objectives, scoring objectives, that kind of thing. I'm super interested in your secondaries, because you have like 10 cultists, 3 Nurglings, and Blue Scribes, and that's fine mission play. You said Warp Talons can do it, but if your units are like charging your opponent, they don't want to be doing actions and stuff. How do you actually score secondaries?
So, like, it's really weird, because during the whole tournament on 9 game, I took 4 time fix and 5 time tactical. So like it's really like will depend on matchup, but overall the list needs CP, and I don't have a way to generate CP beside using tactical. So like when there is no obvious fix, I will always go tactical, I feel. And like the list is okay at doing tactical, because like a lot of the tactical is actually killing or going on the midfield, which I'm going to do that anyway. And then I have the 10 cultists that can do investigate signal in my DZ, which is like maybe the only way I'm going to do it. because like they're gonna tag the home objective and then they are ready to go within 9 of my DZ anytime I draw the investigate signal. Generally, I will have either the Nurgling in Deep Strike to go do a random action too, or within like 10-ish of the middle to be able to go do either deploy Domer or the IRA deny. And then the blue scribe will help with random action like clean and stuff. But the rest of the secondary are pretty natural, I want to say, because the way I'm going to play. But when I go for I will go for fix when I have like an easy kill that I can take. So, for example, against Knight or Toe, I will take Bring It Down. Plus Homer, basically, because Homer is the best secondary when you don't need, the best action secondary, I want to say. Or like Engage, it's better than Engage and most of the stuff. So I will either go like kill plus Homer or play just tactical.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Like basically, you go to deploy teleport homers or something if they have an obvious kill one that works. One of the things I've found as a KS player, when you do the minimum package, which I would suggest you have basically the min package for scoring, supplement, blue scribes, nerdlings, cultists, it can be targeted out pretty surgically by certain armies like Eldar. And I don't want to get super deep into specifically the Eldar match, but players that are of a certain skill level can absolutely target the right units, cut out your secondary scoring capabilities, and then you may dominate the table but lose anyway. Have you found any issue with that?
So the way, because I'm so aggressive, it will be too slow to target them. Because like generally I'm pushing my opponent so hard that like if he decides to go for my scoring, he doesn't go for my killing power. And then if he go for my killing power, obviously I'm going to score a lot. And like after I send the Chosen away, Rhino become really good action monkey, actually. And obviously Silesk is also a fine action monkey. So like most of the time it's okay. Also for example, obliterators, most of the time they're going to drop somewhere and then they will not have enough. They will be too slow to reach the fight after that, maybe, because my opponent is so fast that he's going to decide to outplay them. Then they're just going to go do the action on the objective or like do Homer on the opponent deployment zone, and it's going to be fine.
So you're not concerned yourself with having to do actions with obliterators because you have so much other pressure happening, it just doesn't matter.
I mean, if I need to do the action with the obliterator, I'm going to do it. Because like, the way I'm playing the obliterator, they don't really do that much damage anyway. They are really inconsistent anyway, because like I'm playing 2-man obliterator. So
I completely agree. They're super inconsistent, no Abaddon rerolls. I'm surprised to see them. But I mean, they're working for you, right?
They were quite all right. So the idea was to trade more efficiently into some matchup. Because like a 2-man can like trade more efficiently than a 4-man, obviously, and that also gives me more activation of the Orlos, because instead of having one big 4-man that can only use indirect once, having 2-2-men allow me to use indirect twice actually. So that was cool. And
what kind of targets are you going after with them?
So most of the time it's going to be either I can drop within 12 inches of a like relatively light vehicle like a night spinner or something to shot it to death with like the Melta 2 goes to damage 6, which means I only need 2 fail safe to fail, which is like kind of like I have 1 undivided to I can, if I need it, I can spend the full reroll it and win on it. Or to go after the scoring with like the no loss, like being able to kill the little scoring units or stuff like that.
Yeah, right. That makes a lot of sense. You're kind of lowering your expectations for just a 2-man in that sense.
Yeah, because like 4-men can be outplay a lot, I felt. So 2-men is just better trading overall. And like I can do some tricks, like I start with 2 undivided oblits, and then I did go to like 1 Nurgle, 1 undivided. So I can do some rapid ingress play or stuff like that to be able to like rapid ingress like on an objective, then become untargetable or stuff like that. And so my opponent can never really let an objective not being within like range of 9 of his unit, because that means I can just take it for free or stuff like for free for 2 CP or stuff like that.
This really aggressive play style you have, like you said, it leads to lots of little battles all over the tabletop, right? Like some more towns over here, obliterators over there, Chosen over here, there, center. That is a very unscripted way to play 40K. One where you really have to figure out every game in the moment, kind of game by game by game. And while you can practice your list to try to get better with what's going on with it, your opponent probably hasn't practiced against it nearly as much. So that's obviously to your advantage. You're trying to create chaos, like you said, amongst the table so that your opponent makes mistakes that you can then capitalize on. Does that put a lot of pressure on you to make the right decisions, or does it just kind of fall into place naturally with what your list is designed to do?
So to be honest, I don't like. I tend to like play by like I want to say instinct, but more. I have a lot of reps, so I just like feel the vibe I need to do, and I don't really think too much when I play. It's more about like
That's a first. Most top competitors do spend a lot of time thinking about their moves.
no, I like it's like it's more about like I have the experience on the list, so I know what it does. So like I'm gonna just like play my style and like figure like most of the time I figure out after what I did and like I did that because like and that's incorrect. Like it's a lot by instinct. I it's really weird, I know, but like I play a lot, like really a lot. So that helped. Like I feel like just develop like the experience of like the match, and so like on the table, I start to just I'm most in the tournament. I'm also like really tired after a moment, so I just like trust myself and play the way I play.
How do you get so many reps with your army?
TTS, TTS.
TTS.
Like I'm a youth
all over the world on TTS.
Yes, that's the best. Because in Belgium, like after a while, I started to be like not having a lot of opponent in Belgium. So yeah, I just play like everywhere on the world. Like I play with like Polish guys, UK guys, like everyone. It's so cool. Even like American and everything. It's like so cool.
I get a lot of people on the podcast talking about TTS and how it's really helped them improve their games, and this is a common answer for people. How did you get into TTS? How did you find all these people to talk to and play?
That was during COVID, when like there were no more tournaments in real life. It had a lot of tournaments on TTS, so I started just to play those tournaments on TTS, and there I meet a lot of good people, which end up in a lot of WTC team. And I think quite a lot of them were on the podcast. Like I meet like Jamie Paris or Arn or guys like this, where we play each other, and then that guy is really cool and really good, and then you start just to talk with him, and in the end you end up on a Discord with all of them, and then like when you look for a game, you just ask there, and then you go and you play like some good quality game, like any time on the day almost. So that's how it started, actually.
Awesome. That's super cool. So, and from there, you just leveraged your network, got better, traveling. Am I going to see you in America for the finale for GW?
Yeah, I'm coming out to Atlanta, yeah.
I'm super excited. Maybe we'll get to play.
Yeah, that could be fun, yeah.
Absolutely. So, Liam, I want to wrap it up with one more question before we move on to part 2. And that's where I think this episode is really going to kick off, because you've been so focused on your list and playing it. You must have a gold mine of information about what to do in your specific matchups. If you had any parting advice for a Warhammer player trying to get better, what would it be?
I think it's like quite logic, but I would say it's just to play the game, because like there is like, I feel you can do a lot of theory on the game, but it's never going to be the same way on the table. So we would say to just play the game and try to find, I guess, your own gameplay, because like if you like your game style more, if you play my list, for example, but you're not an aggressive player, it's not going to work like this. So it's always like better to like play the list that suit your playstyle, I want to say. But yeah, I would say playing the game is the best way to become better at that game.
Makes a lot of sense. Play the game, get better at the game.
Well, I'm not really good at. It's not really a good advice, but like, yeah. I mean, obviously, not be scared at doing tournament, because like that's the best part of 40K. Like right now, I'm not gonna lie. Most of my real 40K are in tournament. I don't get to play a lot of practice game in person nowadays. Like with like live being like busy and like stuff like that. So I play a lot on TTS, but not a lot in person. Beside in event. And going to event is so awesome. So
well, that's awesome, Liam. Thank you so much for coming on. Listeners, you can check out part 2 on AOW40k.com. That has access to all of our part 2s along with our amazing Discord server. For those of you who will be joining us, we're going to be talking about the matchups, exactly how he pilots it, how he beats the Eldari Menace, what he's going to do against these new Tyranids, and the Space Marine meta. All right, everybody, thanks so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Like what you just listened to? Check out Art of War Down Under and Art of War Unbroken on the competitive 40K network. The Art of War 40K.com.